Hello and welcome back. I'm Joe and this is a tutorial for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Today I will show you how to start from nothing, get your first resources, start producing something for yourself and then export that or use it for your own republic. We're taking the example of oil. This tutorial is in response to a request that I received on one of the comments of the other tutorials to show how you actually get from oil to fuel and bitumen and can export it or bring it to gas stations. So that's what we're going to do today. First, the setup. Turn on the UI. On M, Control G turns on and off the UI. And then with M, we can pull up the map. When you start with nothing, I recommend starting close to borders, and in the current game state, start close to a USSR border. That's the red stars. And you want to start at the border where you have a power station and hopefully rail connections too, because volume matters when you want to start exporting. And then you go into your map view is M, and you just try to find a spot of oil that is somewhere near the map and that looks plentiful. And this is where we are, right in front of us. Once you find that, go get out your oil bitumen pump jacks and see where you can place them. Usually, you have a bunch of oil available. If you place someone right in the middle, they may be at 100%, but you can also split that, and those two are not going to be at 50% each. They're actually going to share pretty well. So when you place these, just keep that in mind. You wanna be near the big green dots in the middle. That's what you care about. Where your pump station is, where your pump jack is, the dots are a little bigger than on the outside of your circle. So make sure you stay close to, well, keeping the green dots, the big green dots really green. Place the first one, place the next one. There's just yellow over here, we don't care about that. We can get another set of green dots here and definitely another set of green dots here. This is the most ideal setup? No. If you had more dark green everywhere, you should place more pump jacks there, but we don't have that right now. Now, you got to do a little bit of math. If you hover over any of your buildings, you get information, and usually tells you maximum daily production or similar, and maybe an oil tank, and there's some pollution, and your wattage, and your power, and all that stuff. In this case, what we care about is the maximum daily production is up to 7 tons of oil. 7 tons of oil means if the production rate is 100%. So if we go over here, if I would place a pump jack here, the production rate is definitely 100%. If I put 2 jacks there, it's not 100%, but it doesn't add up to 100% either. So keep that in mind. For our intents and purposes, I will assume that each of these pump jacks produces about 5 tons of oil. That's not 100%, but it's not 50% either. So keep that in mind. I'm sure this one's going to do a little less because it got a little smaller sliver than the others. But that's where we are. And usually when you place this, the red dots now indicate that those areas are already being used by the pumps. Just a nice tidbit. Great. Once you have these set up, you need to start figuring out where you want to place your refinery. Storage will happen, but for right now, refinery is next on my list. The refinery, let's zoom in a little bit and turn the interface off, Control G. The refinery has 2 inputs on the left on the screen right now. They are indicated with the bar at the front of the arrow, and then 4 outputs on the right indicated with the bar at the front of the arrow, not at the tip. And those just means they're inputs and outputs. Should be pretty simple, but sometimes that can be confusing. So place your refinery in a way that you feel is appropriate. Don't put them too far away from where your jacks are, but a little bit away because we're going to put some infrastructure in between there. So just find a place that you like. Why not? Right there. It's fine. And then keep going. And Control G to turn the interface back on. And then the next thing we need, I would like... Oh, sorry. The oil refinery has also information for what you need. Maximum number of workers, 500. Maximum production per workday, 125 tons fuel, 75 tons bitumen. Consumption at maximum production is 250 tons of oil. Environment pollution, 34. All of those are important. Maximum number of workers means per work shift, you can fit 500 people into the refinery. If you work at 100% capacity of workers, you can produce up to 250 tons of oil per day. What's that mean? A day is 24 hours. A work shift is 8 hours. There are 3 work shifts. Each work shift can have up to 500 workers. 1,500 workers means this refinery runs at 100% all the time, and it can consume 250 tons of oil. That's all that means. You can figure out how many numbers or how many workers you actually need by just doing that math. Great. How much oil are we actually getting out of the ground? We have 4 pumps. Each pump, we assume, does 5 tons of oil. So we get 20 tons of oil out of 250. That means this little area over here is never going to fill the refinery completely. So what we want to do is build in a little buffer and a way for us to get more oil into this area. Usually you do that by train. You can do that by more pumps and pipes and all that stuff, but it's not always the best way. Once you place an infrastructure like this for rail, I highly recommend at least adding 2 rail connections so you know where you don't want to put pipe later. First thing. Next thing, let's add some storage. We want a storage for a train to drop off stuff here. And this one, I prefer to not connect my pipes right away. So I hold control down, and I'll show you why in a sec. And then we want to have another storage unit, probably for the 4 pumping stations that we have over here, somewhere in this area. And I'll tell you, I put it here because there is a chance we may want to use oil from here to bring it somewhere else too, because other industries also use oil. And the input for the pumping station is on this side. So once we place those 2, we can get started on pumps. Why should you use pumps? Pumps are active connections that will pull out of one source and push it to the other source. If you only have an inactive connection, for example, these pump jacks are not active, but they push the overflow to the next storage if they have it. Same with these storage units. Once they fully fill up, they will push the access to the next storage, and if the next storage is the refinery, that's great. The refinery is an active connection, so you don't necessarily need a pipe here. You don't necessarily need a pump here, but the pump has a little faster connection. So if you use a pump, you may move the oil a little faster. Sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, I have 2 storage units that need to go into the refinery, and it's a lot easier to connect those with a pump in between. So that's what I have. The next thing, we need to connect all of these guys. And how do we want to do that? We have 4 pump jacks. We can only connect up to 3 to each side. So what I will do in this case, to not waste too many resources, is let's do, this is really completely up to you how you want to do it. But again, I don't like to connect my pipes right away. And I'll show you, I will show you still why in just a sec. But this is what we're going to do. I will connect this guy to the pump here, and then this guy will be directly connected to the side of the storage, which means the pump jack will store 15 tons of oil, but once it's stored the 15 tons of oil, everything else will push out. So you're really not losing much by setting it up this way. But these 3, we don't have enough connections on our storage, so we need a pump regardless because we need to collect all of it. This saves you a little bit of money. You can put another pump here, and that should be fine. When I set up my stuff, I usually go out and then use E and Q to raise and lower. 1, 2, 3. 3 is a good height because you can actually get pretty much all of your infrastructure underneath it. The only thing that doesn't fit is a conveyor belt. A conveyor belt, you have to be at least 4 high, or you go under it. Same thing here, 1, 2, 3. Run it straight out here, across here, and then just connect it there. It will lower if you don't pull it out all the way, so keep that in mind. 1, 2, 3. Over here. See, yep, there's fine. And then down here, this one can connect right away. That is okay. Here, the pumping station for the railroad can actually pull directly from the source. So 1, 2, 3. We don't need a pump here. You could put one in there. I think it will be a little faster than what we have right now. So that's good. In this case, I know that I will want a road connection here because we need to connect all our buildings. If you don't connect them and you have fire turned on, you're gonna have trouble. Pretty simple. So let's connect everything that needs a road here so we don't forget. Pull this one out a little further. This one can go over here. Here we have enough room. If you put the road down first, this can be a little easier. If you don't, you can still do everything you need to do. Connect that one there, this one here, this one just here. And if you actually look at the plan, there are the yellow pipe poles. The pipe poles will not let you build through them, but everything that's not a pipe pole you can actually pull through. So if something is really weird, just take a closer look, and that usually should help you or give you an indication of why something is not working. All of that is connected. You can make this look as neat or as terrible as you like. Really up to you. But this is almost done. We can go back to our pipes and connect those in a way that makes sense to you. So 1, 2, 3. Pull it over here, and then if I can connect there, I will. Yes, there is a connection right here that we can use, but it is right after the road. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, which usually just means it's a little more finicky, which it is finicky right now anyways. So let's try this. Yes, that's good. Yeah, it doesn't want to connect there, so you have to pull out a little more, and then this is fine. 1, 2, 3, pull it over the road, parallel to the road. If you build infrastructure like piping or power grids or anything like that, I highly recommend always running near another infrastructure like rail or road. 1, 2, 3. Because you will probably not move your road very often, but other infrastructures you could move very often. So keep that in mind. 1, 2, 3. Straight over here and down. Great. Now we can connect roads pretty much anywhere on this side. Let's get a little more roads set up right away. This one goes over here, this one can come this way, and this one can connect. Great. We are pretty close to okay for what we have here. There's a couple things that we don't have, and one thing I need to talk about. A lot of people comment and ask, hey, my population is dying, the average age is really low and I don't get enough people back. Usually, that indicates that your health is low. How do you know that? Go to your population, look at the health bar. This thing should be mostly red. If this is less than 80% red, your average lifespan will go down and you will lose people really fast. Also, people will be unhappy. So, keep this health bar up. To keep it up, the best thing to do is not build any of your industries in range of your residential buildings, because all industries have environment pollution. In this case, it's 34.2 tons a year. That is a lot. And if you combine that with the pumps, they had about 4 tons a year, and other industries that you put here all have pollution. If you have pollution, that will hurt your citizens and they will die sooner. To see how far the pollution actually reaches, you can put one of these pollution monitoring stations in. Usually you put them in the city, but effectively, there's going to be an area around your industry, I think it's 500 to 1,000 meters, that will have pollution. So you will try to keep all of your residential buildings outside that range. Once you see pollution, it is not static, it moves around. There's wind in this game, and it's simulated for the pollution. So pollution will move around just a little bit, not a ton, but I think anything after, that's not where I'm clicking. Anything after this area should be pretty safe and pollution free, but don't put it too close to your industries. That matters also for later when you expand your cities and you actually get more industries set up. But this is a pretty good start. We have some oil coming in, everything is connected. The only thing we don't have is power. Power is always important, and that is why we are close to the border. If you can connect in a way that covers all of your buildings, great, but power stations have a limit. You cannot overload them. So if you can't cover everything, usually that's also a good thing, because you may not be able to supply enough power to that area anyway. So Placing these two will cover everything that we have. You want to put a power transformer somewhere. I like modded ones a little better, but this one will be fine. Honestly, it doesn't matter that much where you put it. Put whatever voltage line feels appropriate. This is an industrial area, so I usually put the higher voltage ones. But it is really, really up to you. Connect this one in somewhat attractive fashion. Doesn't matter. But now you have that connected, and you will need a high voltage connection. Use, however, whatever high voltage wires you want to use. They all have different maximum throughputs. This one, for example, is the highest with 18 megawatts. They go down from there. You don't need 18 megawatts for this setup, but you do need something. And when you want to import power, you have to make sure you go to the border post where you connect it to and set the amount that you want to import. To set it to 100%, you only pay for what you need. Great, this area is almost done. There's still more to do. There's so much planning in this game, and that's important. That's why we are in planning mode. I have auto build turned on, but there's more planning. The next thing, your refinery will produce stuff, but it only has a certain amount of storage. In this case, 450 tons of oil and 340 tons of fuel. 340 tons of fuel and 250 tons of bitumen. Once those export tanks are full, it stops producing. That is bad. You want to produce whenever you can, which means as long as there are workers in here, you want this thing to do stuff. So to manage that, just at least connect 2 of these storage units. Just going to do these 2. I do the same trick that I always do with the pipes. Get your pipes. 1, 2, 3. It never hurts to plan ahead here. 1, 2, 3. You can come over here. And then sometimes the pipes are a little finicky, but usually they're fine. Now you have a place where you can actually drop your fuel and drop your bitumen off. So that is great. Technically, if you really want to, you could, and I think we're going to do it this time, you can run oil and fuel through the same pipelines. You can also split them, because we only have one more here. We only have one more export connection here that may be fine. I think in this case, you can choose. You can use 2 exports and run a lot more pipes, or you can just use 1 pipe because it's allowed. The game allows it to, for you. You only use 1 pipe to connect whatever you want. Let's do this for now. This will be tight, so let's get some road connections in first. Get that one in there, get that one here. Yep, that's what I thought. Too sharp of a turn. Okay. What we're gonna do is try to make this work. Are we gonna do that? Take your road, pull the road out, because I saw something green earlier. So now it's gonna work. And then you just connect to that piece of the road, however that works. Pull this one in here, then remove the extra piece of the road. This way you can do a little tighter turn where sometimes it looks like you can't. Get our pipes, as usual. 1, 2, 3. Cross here, go in there. 1, 2, 3. Alright, you connect right away. That will work. This guy, same thing. 1, 2, 3. Across all our infrastructure, and there is a point where this pipe will say too long. If that happens, you just have to add another pump. That should be okay. And then we just run it over here, make it look nice, and now we have an import and export at this location. Great. Almost done. We are... No, we're not almost done. Not even close. There's a lot more stuff to do. Let's find a way to connect this to this side that doesn't look horrid. I would say this and this is fine. It is beneficial at times to have more than one connection to anything. So making a circle here will mean... could mean... if something is blocked or you're upgrading something, or if a piece of road is indisposed for whatever reason, this will all still work. So this is all set up great. I did see that this one this power station actually reaches over to that pipe, so we don't have to add another one. Otherwise, we're still in planning. You could just demolish this and move the substation a little closer to the pipe so everyone has a connection. But we don't need that. So this is pretty good. I see that my power lines are running over here, really close to where my rail is going to run. And you just want to make sure that you're still able to do all the construction that you want to do. That's good. There's no extra construction on this side, so that should be fine. And yeah, we are in a pretty good spot right now. The next thing that you want, plan your city. This is a separate, or there is a separate tutorial for your city planning, so I don't want to go into too much detail. But what you want to think about is how much resources you have available. How many resources you have available, then how much of that you can actually use to produce whatever you have. In this case, we only have 20 tons right now. And 500 people can produce 250 tons of, let me start that over. 500 people can consume up to 250 tons of oil. So it's about every worker can handle half a ton of oil. So we have 20 tons of oil, which means we need 40 workers in every shift. That's 120 people. That's not a lot. If you import more oil, however you do that, you can increase that number. So for right now, this oil refinery can handle 120 workers per work day. Let's get that set up. It's really simple. Make sure you're far enough away so you're not in the pollution radius. That's the first one. The second one, find a place that you like, connect it with whatever roads you want. Pull the roads out. This one is where we'll put my city on. When you place or when you connect your city, you will need some type of station. Right now I use a bus station because for 120 people you don't need a train. You can do this with a train, but bus may be easier to set up and to maintain later on. Get a bus there. Go to your normal city buildings, get some city center set up. There is a store. That's important. There should be a cinema somewhere, and there are modded versions of all of this that you may like more than what the vanilla game does. So put that there. We will need a hospital, definitely. Not really, but you do need it at some point. And then if you have seasons turned on, you also want to have a heating plant somewhere. But again, I will link this. There's another plan for how to actually structure your city. But this is a basic city center. You may want to put a football pitch somewhere, but you can do that later too. Get your roads out. Put one there. Put one here. Pick some residential buildings. Whatever you want to use there is fine. I will just pick the bigger flats that I usually use. You don't have to connect all three of the roads. Just keep that in mind. Just one is fine. If you find a place that you like to connect, use that. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3. And as I said earlier, 120 people will consume all the oil that you give them. For 120 people, you need workers at 120, great. You need to staff the equipment or the places that those workers need, which is a small shopping center, a cinema, a football playground, or something similar for sport, a hospital. You need a fire station. That's something that we talked about earlier. You need a fire station to actually be staffed. I will try to put it in the city. I'm not sure that's going to reach to the refinery. And you will also need kindergarten. Probably 2 of these. These always fill up a little faster. A school, you don't need 2 kindergartens potentially. If you don't have enough kindergartens available, that just means that the parents are not going to work. But they're not going to run away. So it's not the worst thing in the world if you don't have enough kindergartens available. This one's connected here. Use your footpaths to connect the places that look a little far away. Just like this. And give this guy a connection to the rest of the city. All of this is really up to you. How you want to structure it is totally fine. There's no right or wrong, it's just personal preference. You go there, you go here. That looks good. And yeah, this should be an almost functional city. The only thing you have left here is a substation. If you can cover the whole city, great. If you can't, figure out how you can cover it. Then we run our power lines to where they are required, which is here. That's good. Now we have all this set up. Again, if you run with seasons, you need heating. But setting up a heating plant is another thing, because this one needs 30 people and coal. You have to get coal somehow. It needs to be connected to power, and then you have to run the heating pipes to your city and have the heating power plant or the heating plant far enough away for no pollution. Let me just, yeah, I will just set this up. I think it's fine. We have enough room, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. Put this somewhere over here. Get a heat exchanger somewhere where it has power and covers the whole city. Get your heating pipe. This is the most basic setup. And the same thing here. 1, 2, 3. 3 up, then run really far. And if there's a hill, you'll need to go on top of the hill, so this works. The longer your heating pipes are, the more heat you lose across the way. Keep that in mind. But there's heat set up. Everyone is happy. Heating, again, 30, or the plant itself has 30 spots for workers. Where is it? Here. 30 spots for workers. Environment pollution, 26.5. That's a lot again. So you need another 120 workers to run this. You don't need this to run 100% because you don't have that many buildings that need heat. But all of this together, 120 people here, 120 people here. There's a hospital that can, let's do 40. Kindergarten, this can have a good amount. What was it? 10 people. So two kindergartens, 20 times 3 is 60 people. School, another 10. That's another 30 people that need to work. The shop has 25 people. That's 75 people. All of this adds up really fast. You don't have to staff everything 100% right away. Fire station, that's about 30 people that you want there. All of this together just adds up to a lot of people. So just to run a 120 people factory, you probably need at least another 120 people to work all the peripherals. So once you have this done, great. We can almost start building the rest. The one thing that you can do is pick your export, how you want to export stuff. In this case, we're just going to use trains. It's easy, and our distance is already... Our distance is fine to use trains for this. So let's get that one. I don't know how I missed this. I really don't know how I missed that piece. That's a little weird. Don't judge me about the rail. It's fine. It's functional. All we need. All of this connected. If you use electric rail, make sure you have a railroad connection like this somewhere in your electric rail connection. Where should I put you? I'm just going to put you here. Why am I putting it that far away? Because I don't want to redo all the wiring that we already have. So let's just connect this to there. This one has to be connected to our railroad in some shape or fashion. This should work. You can make this as a circle. That's really up to you. I'm not making it as a circle, so we're going to put a crossover in so trains can go in on one side and out on the other side. You want to do something similar near your border post. Just like this. Again, just for trains to turn around. Once you have all that done, you will still need a depot where you can get vehicles from for everything that you want to do. Sure, here's fine. This one's just going to get a connection for both again. That's good. Road connection. Do not forget road connection. If this burns down, you need to build a new one. That matters more if you construct everything yourself, but it does matter. That's all good. And the next thing, road vehicle depot. You need somewhere to get buses on this road. If you have trains that you want to have to carry people to the site, then do that. Next thing, you need some way of dropping off people in this area. And I'm just going to do it this way, because this bus station will be able to drop off people here and here if we need it. Everything looks good. We are auto buying everything. And if we are using gas vehicles, we need a gas station. That's almost a no-brainer, but It's something that's easy to forget. The gas station needs to have power, so just build it in range of the power substation. Now, you should be good to go. Just hit start. Everything should be built. Once everything is built, there's a couple things you should check. First, go look at your pumps. Are they pumping? You should see animations if they're pumping. Should go through this pump, and yep, we're filling up. Great. This one doesn't have anything, and the refinery is still being built. All that is good. Check your heating plant. Do you have coal? If you don't have coal, you need to organize coal. Auto import is okay if you want to do it manually. That's a different tutorial. Over here, you don't need 100 people working in your hospital. So reduce the number of active workers here to something that makes sense. 15 seems right. Give yourself some vehicles so they can actually reach everyone. Similar here, you do need a fire station. There are not that many trucks available right now, but 2 should be fine. Check your range by just hovering over this. Everything that is green is a building that can be reached, and everything that is yellow is just the road that they will use. So we got lucky. This one can do everything. Great. Pollution station. This one will, for right now, will not show you anything. You just have, if you look, they're just green dots here because none of the industries are currently doing anything. So it's pretty simple. You don't have to do anything. That's great. What else do we have? This guy. Can you reach everything? Just hover over it and make sure that they can actually get to all the different locations, and it looks like they can. So that should be fine. Substation, it will tell you maximum consumption is 81%, so this is all good. It's not overloaded. Great. Last thing, set up your first line. Get a bus that you like. Honestly, it does not matter which one you pick. There's different sizes, but you know that you can bring up to 40 people to the refinery per shift and 30 people to the heating plant. So that is 70 people that you can fit in a shift. You can assume that a bus will take a while to get there. So set them up, get them over here, and drop them off here. Make sure both stations are set to what you want. You really just want to load at the city station and unload here, but if they're set to both, that's fine. Now you have 2 more buses there. You can copy the schedule to another vehicle by clicking this button and clicking on the bus. It will just turn green if it's available, and then you can just start them. You can help yourself just a little bit by telling one of the buses to go to the other station first, so they don't clump up as bad, but honestly, that's going to be undone the first time there's a traffic jam or something else happens. So don't worry about that too much. Here, again, don't need 25 workers in the store. 15 is probably fine. Kindergartens can also be understaffed. We don't need all of them right now. 1 kindergarten honestly is enough, so just turn it off. Nobody at this kindergarten is working. Here, this is a common problem. You have passengers waiting here. Passengers are not workers. Workers are up here. There is a maximum number of people that can wait at this station. Don't have people wait at a station that you don't want to wait there. So just uncheck them. That gives more room for the actual workers that you want to pick up. And that will make your life a lot easier. Great. One thing that I almost forgot. This oil refinery will just start pushing through the pipelines. All the pipe connections are for any liquid that you want to push out, which means both of these pipes could push fuel and bitumen at any moment. When you start, it should push both bitumen and fuel at the same time, so it comes out, and that is good. But you want to check store this item only at your storage units, otherwise you may run into issues. So this one's just doing its thing. It has some oil stored, great. This one has some oil stored, great. There's 33 people, 40. So now this one is filling up, and it should actually go through all the oil. By adding more buses, obviously you can produce more fuel. All this is pretty good. We are almost done with the tutorial. There are 2 more things that we need to do. 1, I need to show you how to export. We have electric trains, so use an electric train. Get a tanker or something that can carry what you want to export. Size doesn't matter. Click on your train, and then you need to go to whatever station you have that is connected to the items that you want to export, and say, okay, from here, I want you to do something. If you tell them to just pick anything up, then they will pick everything up. But in this case, I just want you to export bitumen. just for now. You can tell it to wait until loaded, that's fine, but that will take a while. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not. And you just tell it, go to the border here, unload. You can tell it to wait until unloaded at the border, it doesn't really matter. It will just do it anyways because it's unlimited demand and unlimited supply. Once you're done with that, tell it to go. If you want, at one train, it's not necessary, but if you have more than one train, set up some signals. Usually a chain signal before any junction and a regular signal after every junction. Just like this. This one is a little different because it's just a connection to that depot. This one is a fake junction, but not really. So connect that one too. I'm just making these all one ways. That one works. Chain one in here. If you have an end station like this where nothing else is connected on the other side, you can use mixed signals like this. Point the single arrow at the station. That should be fine. You can do something very similar on this side. Again, if you only have one train, this doesn't really matter. Once you have multiple trains, you want to set up your signals correctly. You go that way, you go this way. There we go. Couple more signals, and we are done. You don't have to make all signals one way, so this is fine. But if you ever find yourself in having too much stuff to export, you can just go buy a new train here. Do the same one, just to keep it simple. And once you have that train, go click on the other train. Come here. And then click on your copy schedule, and you just have to click on the train. It will highlight green again. Click on it and go send this one out. So now you have two trains that are exporting bitumen. Great. We still need, well, we could bring our own fuel to our gas station. It's very similar. There's two ways to do it. The first way, get the truck that can actually carry the fuel. And fuel can be carried by oil tanks. Pick any of these. Honestly, doesn't matter. Pick up your guy. And you can do either send them to the fuel storage where you have it, or you can send it to this storage because fuel is available there. Tell it to pick up fuel, wait until full. For vehicles, it's a little more important, I think. And then tell it to just drop it off at the gas station. Make sure it's unloading, and tell it to go. All the vehicles that are able to do this usually let you, or tell you that they can do something here. So this one can drop off here. Something here, something here. They can't do anything at residential buildings, but they could drop off here, but the store doesn't need any fuel. So keep that in mind when you try to click on things. There's one other way to do this. Distribution office. Pick any size. I'm just picking a small one for right now. Build it. Once it's done building, buy a tank, or buy something that can transport what you want, and then add a new connection. This is pretty similar to setting up the oil tanker, just a direct line. Tell it to load here. You should tell it what you want to load. Sometimes that's important, sometimes it isn't. So load fuel there, and then bring it here and unload it until the station is X% full. And it will stop once it hits that percentage. And as you can see, it just sent the guy out. It will only go if there's any resource available. In this case, we have 85 tons of fuel, so there shouldn't be any problem filling up our gas station. And this is the short version of getting everything set up and ready to go. It's not short at all, I know, I totally agree. This one's without power supply. So fix that by just adding another substation. You could also move this substation over there. It's really up to you. In this case, I'm just opting to build it right here. But this is something you can usually see during the planning stage. So use your planning stage where you don't actually build buildings right away. I wasn't planning on building this station. But here, let's look at our actual pollution. As you can see, it's just a little bit on this side. There's some red right now, but this will increase the more you actually produce. So keep that in mind. And if it ever creeps into your city, you have to do something about it. A hospital cannot offset pollution. Very important. That's all I have. I hope somebody gains something out of this. You can actually, if you want, one thing. You can tell your trains, go to your line. You can tell your trains to load oil and also unload oil here. If you do that, They will pick up oil, they will buy oil and import oil and drop it off into this storage. Once it's in this storage, it can go into the refinery when it's available, which means at that point you can have more people. Super simple. I know it's just a couple button clicks, but you can do that at the custom house as well. Now I'm done. I hope you learned something. I hope you gained something out of this. If you did, like and subscribe. If you didn't, let me know what else you want me to cover, because if I can, I will. Thanks for watching. Bye.